Howdy folks, it's Adriel the Hunting Gear Guy, and this is the Browning AB3. This is a detachable magazine bolt-action hunting rifle by Browning. It uses these detachable mags rather than the old A-bolt, which had this really weird hinged magazine combo thing that was kind of weird. Thank you for Browning for just going with a magazine on this one. It's got a very short bolt throw on it, so rather than a 90-degree, it's got a little bit of a shorter three-lug design. And we're empty here, so why don't we take a closer look at this rifle. All right, at the rear of this AB3, we have this butt pad that's quite squishy and very nice, very good quality rubber that's being used on here. We've got a steel sling stud and then a plasticky kind of stock. There's this palm swell that I was talking about. That really shows how it's sticking out there. That's just to grab onto your palm there. On the back here, we've got that safety. So there we are on fire. You can see that red there. There we are on safe, and then the bolt's not going to move. To get the bolt to move while it's on safe, we're just going to push down on this little pedal. Now on the X bolt is just up here on the bolt. On the AB3, it's right here, and then that allows us to run the bolt. As you can see from here, that reduced throw on this thing is really nice for not having to like hammer your fingers up against the scope. Some bolts that aren't a three-leg design like this one are a little bit harder to fit a scope on. Now to remove the bolt, you need to go to the other side. There's this button right here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put the safety off. I'm going to pull the bolt up, pull it back, and then you just push down this little catch here, and that'll let the bolt release. And there you can see that that's a three-lug bolt. It's a solid design with a full-size shank on it as well. Also at the rear of the gun here, we've got that cocking indicator. So I've confirmed that this gun is empty, and once the gun is fired, that cocking indicator goes away to say that it is not cocked. So kind of handy there. Now up here on the rifle, you can see we've got this plastic trigger that I really like. It's actually quite good. I'm just going to try to show you here. I'm going to start pulling it. Oh, there it goes. It's that good of a trigger. It's so nice and short and so light and crisp. You can hardly even tell that I'm touching it there. And that's the way it comes from the factory. So quite good. The magazine, on the other hand, kind of sticks out. Doesn't look as good as some of the other Browning stuff, but is okay anyways. We release it up at the front here with that little tab. So once we push on that, we can pull the magazine out. And there you can see the magazine has this metal and plastic front and back, which is a little bit odd. Plastic on the front, plastic follower in here, and then metal on the sides for the lips. It is engraved with the cartridge that it's designed for. This one's designed for 30-06, and it's marked as such on the front there. And of course, a plastic bottom. When inserting the magazine, you're listening for a very high-pitched click, but it'll actually do two of them depending on how you insert it. Oh, did I just get one? I just got one that time, and it is in there. So a little bit of a fiddly magazine to put in, but all in all, not too bad. Now, one cool thing about the AB3 is that Browning also sells these integrated bases and rings. So this is just a one-piece unit that just screws right in. You can run them like I've run them, where they're a little bit tighter, or you can run them one to the rear, one to the front, just to give yourself a little bit more room on where these rings go. But they're pretty inexpensive and not bad. I didn't mind them too much. Now, one thing I like about this gun and many of the inexpensive rifles as well is that the barrel is fully free-floated, no problem there, actually quite generous. So really good free-floating job on this rifle. And then finally there's our muzzle with a very quick and dirty target crown down on it. Now to disassemble the rifle, I'm going to use a number 4 metric. In a pinch, you could also use a 5/32, and I'm going to remove the action screws here and there. So actually, let's just get this magazine out of the way anyways. Don't need that. This is always a tough thing to do on camera because it's always a challenge between getting a really good view for you guys, and I need to see what I'm doing too. But let's take out that front action screw. There it goes. Where's the rear one? There it is. And let's get to that rear guy as well. There we go. There's the rear screw. You can see it's quite a bit longer. Now, I'm not sure, is this going to come loose? Are you going to come out of there? There we go. Oh, look at that. There's our plastic trigger assembly. You can see that it's got a little metal wire in there. But other than that, maybe this pin's steel, the rest of this is plastic. So this is a fantastic plastic little trigger here. Once we've got that ready to rock and roll, we should be able to pop our action loose. I'm just going to pull the bolt up just to give it a little bit more room. There we go. And there's our stock. Nothing too crazy going on there. Pretty, here, let me just, oh yeah, that's stiff. Yeah, I'm just trying to bend that on my knee here. And it's got some really good reinforcement in here, and the sidewalls are quite thick as well. So this stock is quite stiff. Now we don't have any pillars in here, but it does look like a pretty good setup in terms of the way that these beveled this. So this might offer a pretty tight setup. Oh, that's part of the part that's clicking. I don't know, oh, let's see here. We've got this little metal guy back here, and that's probably catching on the back of the magazine. It might be giving me that false positive that I'm actually in. And you can see that we've got that molded in red dot at the bottom. Isn't this just a marvel of simplicity? Look, there's not really a lot going on here. Let me just go ahead and pull this bolt out here. There we go. So you can see that this is a very compact assembly here at the back here. Very interesting how they've, oh yeah, can I even run that safety if I've got it off? No, oh yeah, I can, there we go. Now I've got the safety on and safety off. So you can see that entire mechanism is very clever in the way that it's so compact and not really a lot going on there. This is a really cool design. So this rifle is really interesting because Browning doesn't normally do value-priced firearms. Usually their guns are a little bit more expensive, a little bit more premium. They put in more premium features, more premium materials and that kind of thing. And this one's a bit of a compromise on that. The stock itself is all just hard plastic rather than the soft touch coating that they have on the higher-end X-Bolt, for example. The bolt itself is quite a compromise. When it's dry, it's quite catchy, so if you push it off axis, it's very easy to bind it up, and it's actually quite grabby in there, even though it's this big honking thing. So one of the things you may want to do with your AB3 is just to add a little bit of oil to the bolt body itself, just to smooth things up. There we go. And what that'll do is really make a difference in how hard it is to bind this thing up. I can't, you just saw me there, I can still bind it up at the start, but after that it is going in. So it's still a little bit grabby, not nearly as smooth as the X-Bolt or a Tikka or something like that, but a lot better with some oil on it than not. Now, in terms of using the AB3, a couple of things I really like. One of them, the trigger. Oh man, okay, plastic trigger. One of the first ones I've seen in a centerfire rifle, full plastic trigger, and fantastic, so good. Oh, I couldn't believe it when I was at the range pulling this thing. There's like no travel on the thing. There's no torquing. You know, on a plastic trigger, you might be worried that that pulling it would you'd feel a little bit of flex in it, and I just don't feel any flex in it. And there's the travel on it's so short. It's so good. I can't believe what they've done with the trigger on this rifle. It's not one of the ones that has the safety blade on there or anything, so even without all that stuff on it, it's still such a good trigger. The safety on this one, it does use a locking bolt safety, so when the safety is on here, my trigger doesn't work and my bolt is locked as well. To pull it off, you'll have to push this little pedal that's just on the right side of the receiver, and now you can open up the bolt. So even with your safety on, you can still move the bolt, but as soon as it goes in, it locks it on. So if you were to take this through the bush, if you do like a lot of bushwhacking when you go hunting, and this is going to be up on your shoulder and potentially grabbing at trees, this is a bit of a better system than a non-locking bolt, because it won't come open and potentially lose you around, or be open and you see a deer and you bring it up and your bolt is in your face because it's not forward and ready to fire. So that's a bit better. Another thing I really like is the bolt release mechanism. It's just this little lever on the side here. So with the bolt down, all I have to do is press that bolt release and that bolt comes right out. One thing I dislike about this system, look at the size and the weight of this bolt. It's so big and heavy, and you're not really getting a ton of smoothness out for all the effort. So the X bolt is a little bit nicer. There's lots of different ways to do a bolt, and I'm not really a fan of the way that Browning's done this one, but I am a fan of the because it's a 3-head design, the bolt turn down is quite short, so you're not going to jam your hands up against the rifle. You've got quite a bit of room there to move the bolt back and forth, and you're not going to be hitting your fingers or your thumbs against your scope. Now the magazine itself is quite a tight fit. I kind of like it, but I dislike that it's such a tight fit in there. It's sometimes, like at the range, I had a couple of times where I thought it was in and it wasn't quite in there. So definitely listen for that click. Oh, did you hear it? I thought I heard it there. Oh yeah, so it's just clicking past that lip there. It can fool you a little bit because it's just clicking past the front rather than this little piece right here. Now, lots of plastic on plastic. This magazine is real weird. It's got kind of like a metal back and then a plastic front and then a plastic floor plate as well. So kind of interesting from that manner how they've combined these two materials. I've never seen it done like front to back. I've seen it done like top to bottom kind of a thing, but never front to back where these two materials are both in use. And despite it being like a double stack magazine, it doesn't carry quite as much as some of the other rifles out there. I really like, so this magazine's okay. I really like Browning's X Bolts magazine. It's a full polymer one. It's a little bit more compact feeling than this one, and holds just as many rounds. It's a rotary plastic one. The other thing I dislike about this magazine is, I'm pretty sure they did this on purpose, but it sticks out past the bottom of it, and it's kind of ugly a little bit. It would be nice if it was a little bit more rounded and conformed a little bit better to the bottom of the rifle rather than this. It is just fine. That's where you're going to grab and carry the rifle, and it's not like there's anything obtrusive in my hand right now just carrying it like this, but it doesn't really look the best. They've also got quite an aggressive palm swell on the right hand of this rifle. For me, you know, take it or leave it. I don't really care if it's there or not. Some of you guys might really like that. Me personally, I don't really care. The other feature, again, this is being Browning, they put a lot of features into this rifle. They do have a cocking indicator on there as well. So once you pull the trigger, that cocking indicator disappears from the back there. So pretty interesting. So again, that was Browning's AB3. It's their entrant into the bargain bolt action hunting rifle, and pretty interesting combination of features. And I think it's got a unique use case. If you're going to take a bolt action rifle out through the bush and really really go bushwhacking, I think this guy's actually a better fit than some of the other ones, and that's primarily because it's got that bolt locking feature with the safety, and you can't actually like take it out there. So I think this might be the guy to go with if you really abuse your rifle and you don't have a lot of money to spend on a nicer one. So again, that was just a real quick one of the Browning AB3. Thanks for watching.